So when we are talking about the stars, notice that we used. Whoa. Whoa. I think I'm gonna hurt myself. I think I'm gonna hurt myself. Okay, shh. We're doing a podcast. You too. Can't take you anywhere. Okay.
Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Knowing God podcast for kids. I am Erin.
And I'm Bob.
And I'm Lily.
And today we are going to look at one of the many amazing things that God has created. And I am really excited about today's episode. We are going to be talking about the stars. And Lily, I think we should start by asking you some questions to see how much you know about the stars. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yep.
So we're going to start by asking you 5 questions.
Okay.
Okay, Lily, what is the closest star to Earth?
I have no idea.
You don't know? Let's see. It's something big and...
yellow, and we see it every day.
Oh, the sun!
The sun!
I forgot the sun was a star.
So the sun is a star, and it's the closest... No peeking. It's the closest star to Earth. All right, question number 2. How many miles do you think the sun is from the Earth? Just take a guess.
2,500.
So you think the sun is 2,500 miles from us to the sun?
Probably not correct.
Okay. Do you know? Did you already see the answer?
93 million.
Okay. So
I was way off.
So the answer is the sun is 93 million miles away, approximately, from us. So you were a little off.
A little. Just a little.
Just a little. Okay, Lily. How many stars are there?
Like lots of billions and billions.
Billions and billions. You are pretty close to being correct.
It's not a bad answer.
Yeah. The answer is nobody knows for sure. You can take some of the lowest estimates or guesses that scientists have and say there are 100 billion galaxies, and each galaxy has 100 billion stars. So if you multiply those numbers together, you would get a number that has a 1 with 22 zeros behind it.
Whoa, that's a lot.
And that is called 10 sextillion.
So if you were counting big numbers, it would go million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, and then sextillion. 10 sextillion is a huge number of stars.
It is huge. And that is a very low guess on the number of stars. To get an idea of how big that is, let's take that same number of 10 sextillion and see how long it would take us to count 10 sextillion stars. If you counted each star 1 second at a time without stopping, it would take one person about 317 trillion years
That's a lot.
to count them all. 317 trillion years. That's not the number of stars. That's how many years it would take you to count that low guess of stars in the universe.
That's a long time.
That is...
I was going to say I've got the afternoon free, but it's going to take a little longer than that.
That's
Yeah, a
all.
lot.
So that's a lot of stars.
Yes, a lot.
Okay, Lily. How big is the largest star? How about we measure it by the number of Earths, and how many Earths do you think would fit inside the largest star in the universe?
I think like 1,000 or something.
Okay, so you think 1,000 Earths would fit inside the biggest star in the universe?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, scientists think that about 1 million Earths would fit inside the sun.
I was off again.
But the sun isn't the biggest star in the universe, as huge as it may seem. They also think that about 2,000 suns would fit inside the largest star. So 1 million Earths would fit inside the sun, and 2,000 suns would fit inside the largest star. So that would mean more than 2 billion Earths could fit inside the largest star.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I think you were a little off again.
Again.
Okay, Lily, last question. If you were able to drive a pretend flying outer space car and you could travel to the closest star besides the sun, which is about 25 trillion miles away from us, how long do you think it would take to drive there if you were going an average speed of about 60 miles an hour, which is about how fast we drive on the highway?
I think it would take like a year or something.
Well, let's look at the answer. Do you think you're way off again?
I already saw the answer and I know I'm like way off.
Okay, if we had our pretend outer space car and we kept driving and we didn't stop, it would take us about 47, what's that word right there?
Million.
47 million years to drive to the closest star besides the sun. Again, that's not the number of stars. That's 47 million years to drive to that star.
Whoa.
That kind of shows us just...
Yes, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa was right.
That shows us how big the universe is.
So when we were talking about the stars, notice that we use words like estimate or guess or they think. Now, why can't scientists just use the newest and greatest technology to come up with the number of stars and tell us an exact number? The simple answer is because no matter what people try to do, the universe is just far too much for people to understand. There are just too many stars to count. The size of the universe is more than our minds can even imagine. To think how big just one star is, and then to think that there are billions and billions more stars, it's way too much to grasp with our minds. Although many people have been trying for many years, not even the smartest people on Earth can figure out how everything works, or how big everything is.
So in Isaiah 40:26, it says, "Look up into the heavens. Who created all the stars? He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each by its name. Because of his great power and incomparable strength, not a single one is missing."
So because of God's power and strength, he knows exactly how many stars there are, and he knows each star by name. And the verse says he brings them out like an army. God is the one who created all the stars. He is the one who made the universe so huge that we can't even begin to imagine how big it is. While we can't even think about it, he is the one who made it.
And it says almost the same thing in Psalm 147:4. It says, God counts the number of stars and he gives names to all of them. You know, if you do research on how big stars are, or you look up the distance between objects in space or other things like that, if you search for those answers on the internet, you will often see a note at the top of the internet page that says the information is old or outdated, or they will try to reassure you that their information is okay because even though they wrote the article many years ago, they have continued to update that website to try to keep the newest discoveries available to the readers. This is just another way to see that science is always changing. Scientists make new discoveries all the time and new information is found out. Over the years, their guesses of the numbers of stars just continue to get bigger and bigger. Science changes because people don't have it all figured out. There is so much to see and so much to learn. And when we study science, we see how huge the universe is. And we see how hard things are to understand. But also, we can see how amazing the world and the universe is. We can see a glimpse of how amazing God is because he is the one who made it all. He can create something so amazing, such as a star, And not just one star, but a countless number of stars. So how much more amazing is God?
Stars are something that everyone can see. You might have to get away from all the lights if you're in a big city, but at night, in the dark, everyone in the world can look up at the sky and see the stars. No matter where you are, you can see amazing things that God has created. Oceans, mountains, rivers, lakes, canyons, animals, and we can even look at our own bodies. Even though every person can look at all these amazing things, some people still refuse to believe that there is a God who designed and created it all. Many people think we are here by accident. They think that we are here because of an explosion. But the Bible says this in Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. God says no matter who you are or where you are, you can look at things in this world and see that there must be a God who made it all. God says no one has an excuse. No one can make an excuse for not knowing that God is real.
So, to all of our younger listeners, if you have a science teacher at school or your science textbook tells you that the universe was made after a big explosion happened, or that people are here because we've evolved from apes, remember that these things do not agree with what the Bible says. These textbooks were written by people who have made the choice to not believe in God. But remember this, every person can look at creation. We can look at the size of the universe and all the amazing things on the earth that people can't figure out. And we can see that there has to be an intelligent creator. There has to be a God who designed all of these things and made all of these things. And no one has an excuse. And I think next time we will continue this topic a little further and look at some more verses in Romans 1.
If you are interested in learning more about science in the Bible, go to hideandseekministries.com/science. You'll find free resources there. And while you're on our website, also visit our podcast page and get your free printable worksheet to review what we've talked about today. And for more details about things like evolution, the Big Bang, and dinosaurs, check out the book called Hidden Treasure Quest, Knowing God Through Creation. You'll find it on our website. And it has 3 chapters that review science-related questions. And you can get a study guide that goes along with it that has even more information about evidence.
Also, if you haven't already, be sure that you subscribe to this podcast. You'll find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, or even YouTube. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you guys join us again next time on the Knowing God podcast for kids.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.